There are stories in our world that stay with us quietly. Not because they are loud or dramatic, but because they reveal how deeply one person's choice can echo through the lives of many. Today's story is one of those moments. It is not a legend, not a rumor, and not a dramatized tale. It is a real story confirmed through records, interviews, and the memories of the people who lived through it. This is the story of Welles Remy Crowther, a man many remember simply as the man in the red bandana. Welles did not seek recognition. He did not leave behind long speeches or dramatic letters. What he left were actions. Quiet, steady, unforgettable actions, recorded in the testimony of those he helped. Welles was born in 1977 in New York. When he was a young boy, his father gave him a small red bandana, just a simple cloth. But Welles kept it with him throughout his childhood, and even as he grew older, the red bandana remained a familiar part of his everyday life. As an adult, Welles graduated from college and began working at Sandler O'Neill & Partners, a financial firm in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. He lived the life of a busy young professional in Manhattan. The morning rush, the train rides, the coffee shops, the constant movement of the city. People who knew him remembered him as quiet, responsible, and calm. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but he was someone who stepped forward when others needed help. In his teenage years, he volunteered at a local fire department and even dreamed of becoming a firefighter someday. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the sky over New York was clear and blue. Felt like any other day. Welles arrived at his office in the South Tower and began another ordinary morning. But what happened next became part of history. What we know about Welles from that day comes not from imagination or speculation, but from multiple survivor testimonies that align with one another across interviews and official records. In the chaos and smoke, survivors recall a man wearing a red bandana, a man who spoke calmly, who guided people toward the stairs, who helped the injured, and who told those around him, "Follow me." Different survivors from different parts of the building described the same person, the same cloth, the same voice, the same steady presence. One survivor said, "He appeared out of nowhere. Calm, focused, showing us where to go." Another recalled how he carried someone across the debris-filled floor and urged others to keep moving. And several survivors shared the same detail, that after leading people to safety, the man in the red bandana went back into the smoke to look for more. These are not speculation. These are the words of people who survived that day and wanted to honor the person who helped them. That man was Welles Crowther. Welles did not leave the building. He continued helping others until the end. Later, during the recovery efforts, his remains were identified, and his location during those final moments matched the accounts of the survivors he guided. In the months and years that followed, survivors came forward to share their memories. Their voices carry the story more powerfully than any retelling could. One survivor said, "I owe my life to him. If he hadn't come for us, I wouldn't be here today." Another remembered the clarity of his voice, how even in the confusion he remained steady and sure. And so, over time, the world began to recognize the man they had all described. The man with the red bandana. This name, the man in the red bandana, was not created by storytellers. Came from the people who saw him and survived. Welles's story continued to be documented in many places. His name is recorded at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. His actions have been covered by major news outlets. And in 2017, a documentary titled Man in the Red Bandana was released, featuring survivors, family members, and the official accounts of that day. Welles's family has spoken about him with quiet remembrance. They describe him as gentle, disciplined, and thoughtful. His mother shared in an interview that when she learned the man in the red bandana was her son, her heart broke, but she was also deeply proud of the choices he made in his final moments. The red bandana, the one he had carried since childhood, became a symbol, not because someone decided it should be, but because survivors remembered it clearly in the darkest hour of their lives. Welles wore that bandana as he helped others, and that simple detail became the thread that tied their memories together. Today, Welles's story remains one of the most documented acts of courage from September 11th. Not exaggerated, not mythologized, but recorded in consistent testimonies and confirmed facts. And yet, what makes his story powerful is not only what he did, but the quiet nature of how he lived. He did not shout. He did not hesitate. He simply acted in a way that reflected the kind of person he had always been. Welles Remy Crowther. The man in the red bandana. A young man who chose to help others in the most difficult moment imaginable. A man whose steps continue to echo through the people he guided and the lives they were able to continue. When we listen to this story, we are not trying to turn him into a legend. We are simply acknowledging what is already recorded, a quiet act of courage remembered by the people who were saved by it. And sometimes, that kind of truth is more powerful than any dramatic tale. As we bring this story to a gentle close, we hold on to the simple truth of that day. One man, a calm voice, a red bandana, and a choice to help others when it mattered most. And in the quiet of that choice, his memory lives on.